The topic of his talk is the abandonment of Raoul Wallenberg. Now, a few words about our speaker. He graduated in 1958 from Amherst College with honors and received his law degree from Yale in 1962. He has a distinguished career as attorney and helped the Civil Rights Act as an aide of Attorney General Robert Kennedy.
Wonderful to be in a temple again. Wonderful to see my friends here. My wonderful first cousin Bruce Wolff and his wife Rita are here. That was my first wedding, age 11, at the Boynton Hotel in Camden. When I saw her walk down the aisle, I said to myself, I may be just 11, but I think I want to go up to the altar with her. It's all worked out. Emil and Lynn Hupschman are here tonight. Emil's been my friend since we were Cub Scouts together in Philadelphia, so I feel very much at home. And I will be happy to take questions afterwards. I was thinking as I was coming over tonight about the wonderful saying by John Donne that no man is an island, every man is part of the main. And we are invited, when the bell tolls, it tolls for us. And I know that it's good Jewish people and other people. I know this whole ecumenical group is here, and I think that's particularly valuable because this is and was an ecumenical experience. Raoul Wallenberg, born in 1912, August 5th, into a Lutheran family in Sweden, took it upon himself to accept an invitation from the U.S. government to go into danger in Budapest, June 1944, with the mission of rescuing the remnant of Jews left in Europe. When I talk to my students about this, they've heard of Hitler, but they don't know about Eichmann. So that it's crucial that the lessons of the Wallenberg story are available from generation to generation. Just as at Passover we tell the story of the flight from Egypt, I think the work of Wallenberg must be remembered for generations to come, because he is one human being among a handful who truly cared about the welfare of Jewish people and who had a deep love of Jewish culture, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes. Wallenberg was basically raised by his grandfather, Gustav, because Wallenberg's own father died while his mother was pregnant with Raoul. So Raoul was born to a mother without a father. He was raised by Maj Wallenberg. He attended good schools. His grandfather, Gustav, said, I want to send you to America to study, but I want to send you to a Midwestern school because I think it's more down to earth. So he went to the University of Michigan, and he studied architecture. He graduated number 2 in his class. His classmate, with whom I've spoken a number of times, Milton King, a Jewish gentleman from Miami, and he became good friends. So all along the way, Wallenberg developed an affection with and for Jewish people. Then in 1936, he went to Haifa, Israel, because his grandfather wanted him to have exposure to the world and to be experienced in banking. And while in Israel, he met Moshe Landau, who later became Chief Justice of the Israeli Supreme Court and who presided at the Eichmann trial, irony of ironies, became the friend of Raoul Wallenberg when he went to Haifa to learn the banking business. And he and Raoul would go down to the docks and see the Jews getting off the boats with their few possessions. And at that point, Wallenberg really became dedicated to the idea of helping the Jews. I met on 3 occasions with Moshe Landau at his home in Israel. I was very curious because as a lawyer for the Wallenberg family, I was looking for theories that I could take into a U.S. court and argue for his freedom. Now, Moshe Landau, brilliant jurist, books all over the place, his wife 5'1", his watchdog as it were, nurturing his time. He said to me, the universal jurisdiction is the argument you need to make. that if there is a criminal, whichever nation captures him, whose people were injured by him, have the right to prosecute him. Because I'd asked him, how can a nation that didn't exist at the time of the crimes be credible in doing the prosecution? And that was his very legitimate argument. So when I sat down to research this case, starting in March of 1983, it's been 27 years that I've been working on this matter, I was wondering how in the world could I invent a legal theory to entice a U.S. federal judge to take a sober-minded interest in my cause. And I went downtown in my hometown of Philadelphia to the University of Pennsylvania Law Library, where I was a professor, on a Saturday morning, because I got the phone call 4 a.m. Hello, is this Professor Wolff? Yes. This is Raoul Wallenberg's brother. And 4 a.m., it didn't disturb me. I had been expecting the call, but thought it might come through at a slightly more civilized hour. So we talked for about an hour and a half. I said, "You really feel your brother's alive?" He said, "I just met yesterday with a prisoner coming out of the Gulag who shared a jail cell with Raoul Wallenberg." So I took that as the message that it was time to get cracking and do what I could. Went down to the University of Pennsylvania Law Library, met there with Elizabeth Arnold, the law librarian. She was working on a Saturday. She's a walking encyclopedia. I said, "Elizabeth, I have a problem. How am I ever going to get jurisdiction in a U.S. federal court on this matter?" She took me up to the 5th floor of the Penn Law Library, the rare book room, hermetically sealed. We went up in a 2-person elevator. Door opens. There's papers from Benjamin Franklin, Jefferson, Goethe, wonderful university library with these precious jewels of documents. She said, "Look here." I said, "What's that?" She said, "That's a law from 1789. I said, "Wow, what judge is going to listen to a law from 1789? She said, "It's the Alien Tort Claims Act, and that allows you as the lawyer to go into court for a foreigner, alien, who has suffered an injury and make a claim." I said, "How did that ever get started?" Well, Thomas Jefferson wanted America to be the universal land of human rights, even though there was a paradox there, because Jefferson at the time had slaves on his own plantation, but American history is filled with paradoxes. But this was a good paradox, because now I had a law, and I said, "Well, what's this violation of the law of nations?" And she opened Blackstone's commentaries. She said, "Look, diplomatic immunity. Wallenberg was a diplomat. You can argue that the U.S. federal court has jurisdiction on the basis that at the time he was kidnapped from Budapest, Hungary, he was an official diplomat of the Swedish government. Why? We could not send our own diplomats in. We were at war with both Hitler's Germany and Admiral Horthy's Budapest, Hungary. So we, the U.S. government, went to the Swedish government and implored them to find a representative, and they came up with Raoul Wallenberg. Again, an irony. Wallenberg originally went to Hungary because his Jewish partner had family in Hungary, so at a microcosm level, he wanted to help the family of his partner come out of Budapest. But then when the U.S. War Refugee Board asked him to take on a larger mission, he decided that he would take on the mission of trying to rescue